Greetings, Deep Dive Podcast listeners. This is your boy, Sam Orum, coming at you with another episode of the Deep Dive Podcast. I know I say this every week, guys, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share a few things with you guys tonight that hopefully it can change your lives forever. We've been having a great time with season 2, have a lot of laughs, a lot of tears, a lot of empowerment. So we're just having a good time, and I would not have it any other way other than to share my experiences with you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in every single week. Our numbers are incredible. Our people are incredible. Our messages have been great. Even our guests have been incredible. So we're just having a good time, and we want to continue to do that. That being said, I want to make sure everybody continue to support us in every way that you can in terms of subscribe, download, and share these podcasts. Go to our website, thedeepdivepodcast.live. I think that there's a wealth of information on there now between season 1 and season 2 that I think can really help everybody change their lives for the better. So I'd encourage you to not only listen, but like and share those particular episodes, especially if you know someone that may be struggling in a particular area and, you want to help them out utilizing one of those podcasts. So share that with them. Also, if any of you have some valuable information that you would like to share as a guest of the Deep Dive Podcast, go to the same website, thedeepdivepodcast.live, L-I-V-E. You should see a form on there, something in terms of being a guest. Just fill out that form. We'll get that information and we'll vet everybody. And, hey, look, if you have some things that you can share of value to the audience around the world, we'll be more than happy to have you as a part of the Deep Dive Podcast. So again, thank you for tuning in. We have a topic tonight that I want to share with you called delayed gratification. And I want to just kind of give you a brief history of how this particular topic came about. With one of my companies, we had a leadership meeting and we were just kind of discussing some things from a leadership perspective. And one of our leaders out of New Orleans, a young lady by the name of Dorothy Mercadale, she shared some things that she had learned from Bishop T.D. Jakes and some of her own life experiences talking about, delayed gratification. And I was intrigued. I was intrigued by what that meant, what was delayed gratification. And as she explained it to myself and some of the other leaders, I was amazed with the information. I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to seek that information. I wanted to take a look or listen to that message from Bishop T.D. Jakes, and I studied it, man. I studied what he said. I studied what he meant. I really dug deep into the internal meanings of what delayed gratification really meant. And so it changed my life. And I said, you know what? I think I needed to do a podcast version of what that message was about, simply because so many people are suffering from the same thing. And I think this message is going to help you in terms of what does it mean when we're talking about delayed gratification, but also, what does that mean for you individually? Because a lot of people struggle with the fact that they work so hard, whether it's through their job, through their business, through their life, through their spiritual journey. And sometimes it just seems like you're not getting the kind of results that you think you deserve. Well, in a lot of instances, it's not that you're doing something wrong. It's just that some things are being put in place for you. And when the time is right, those things will be revealed to you in a magnificent way. If you've listened to any of my podcasts in the past, you've heard me say time and time again, when I talk about, building capacity, I talk about emptying out negativity, I talked about staying positive with yourself. All of these things are part of that delayed gratification, because you have to build yourself to a certain point where you can actually withstand the power of the blessings. And so if you understand that, and if you understand that through this particular podcast, then I think that'll go a long way in terms of giving you that aha moment as to why you don't get everything you want when you want it. I hope that makes sense to you guys, but let me just dive right in and share with you a couple of things. One, delayed gratification requires that you are seasoned enough. okay, that you are seasoned enough. Now, when we're talking about seasoned enough, that means you're building your capacity, but you're seasoned enough to see the higher purpose rather than or opposed to a monetary gratification or temporary gratification. So let me say that again and let me slow it down because you got to get this. All right. So when you're talking about delayed gratification, it requires that you are seasoned enough to see the higher purpose rather than the momentary or monetary gratification or something that's short term. Okay. So again, what does seasoned enough mean? That just means you've built yourself to a certain level where you understand there is a process. You understand what being seasoned is about. You understand that you're going to go through some things and it doesn't frustrate you because you know that it's a part of that delayed gratification. You will have the gratification, just maybe not when you think you deserve it. It's when your creator thinks you deserve it. And you have the capacity to, as I always say, withstand the weight of the blessings, because with blessings comes responsibilities. You got to understand that. You know, God didn't create you to impress people because the only thing that people offer in a lot of cases, is their opinion, right? So what you have to realize as far as you building yourself, you're not here to impress people. You're not here to get stuff right now just so you can show out to people right now. Let me give you an example. There's a lot of times that I can look back in my own, life's journey, and I can recall wanting to have this, fancy car or wanting to have this accolade or whatever it may be, this accomplishment, anything, just so I can impress some people at that particular moment in my life. And, when I look back on it, it seems so frivolous now because one, the people that I was trying to impress, they're no longer even in my life. And two, the people that I was trying to impress today, I don't even care that I was there about what they thought back then. I'm different now, right? So you don't want to be in a situation where you're living in the moment or trying to stress yourself out in the moment to please somebody, because it's not about it's not about you. You're trying to do something about them or about a particular situation. You have to understand that through your process of growth, through your process of building, through understanding delayed gratification, you're doing certain things for yourself, and you just hope that people will come along on this journey with you that's going to be with you on the journey forever. So think about it this way. Everybody that you come in contact with in your life, they're either in your life for a season or for a lifetime. Now think about that, even for a season or for a lifetime. What do you mean by a season? Well, there are people who I just knew, we were so close and so tight and we did so many things together and whatever it may be. I could not have ever imagined that those people would not be a part of my life forever. But here it is, 10, 15, 20, 30, 80 years later, whatever it may be, those people are no longer a part of my life. Well, they were only meant to be there for a season, not necessarily a lifetime. And then you have people who are genuinely supposed to be in your life for a lifetime. Where we mess up is this, especially in marriages. We try to put people that were intended to be in our life for a season, we try to make it a lifetime journey. And because you're not equally yoked, because that person is not supposed to be there forever, then you grow apart, you get a divorce and all these other things. You just have to understand what that journey is all about. You're always going to hear me talk about the journey, the process, the wait game, WAIT, all of these type things, and building that harvest is part of the bigger picture. And the delayed gratification is no different. You're not going to get it all when you want to get it. You're going to get it when you're supposed to get it. And I hope everybody understand that. The harvest that God has for you, is so big that he has to break some habits sometime that you have. I think we did another podcast talking about breaking those habits, which can take some time. When you're talking about breaking habits, you're talking about changing people's ideology. You're talking about changing people's, mindset. I think I told you a few weeks ago that I wanted to create some habits in my life, positive habits in my life. So I did certain things 21 days, at least 21 days consecutively without fail. That's because I wanted to put some positive habits in my life. Well, in order to break some of the negative habits, you got to do the same thing with the same level of vigor and intensity. 21 days minimum. Between 21 and 90 days takes you can create or break bad habits, create good habits, break bad habits, somewhere between 21 and 90 days. So that's important. So that harvest, again, that God has for you, sometimes is so big, you got to break those habits. And it's going to take some time. And that will give you an opportunity to actually enjoy the harvest when it manifests itself, because again, you can understand and appreciate what that journey is all about. For a lot of people, though, your habits are destroying that harvest. You have to think about that. And again, we talked about that in a previous podcast. You may want to go back and listen to that episode, but your habits can be destroying your harvest. One of the biggest habits that people have that just have to let go is to just always focusing in on the negativity. That's something that you just have to let go. There is no path, from my perspective, there is no path to massive success if you live in the borders of negativity. There's just no path to happiness. So that's something you're going to have to really focus on. I'm the type person, you can't run with me. You can't be on my journey with me if you're not suffering along the way with me. And I don't literally mean suffering, but I mean that process, that struggle. You got to go through some things, guys. And it's not going to be easy. No one ever professed that it would be easy, but you need to realize that on the other side of that journey, on the other side of that suffering, is that gratification that you so seek. But for me personally, if we're not equally yoked, whether it's friendships, relationships, business relationships, thought processes, if we're not equally yoked, if you're not willing to struggle on that journey with me, then I'm not willing to bring that baggage along. I have to be with some people or a person who is willing to run with me toward that gratification. I hope that makes sense to you guys. It's making sense in my head, so I hope I'm articulating it correctly, because it's very important. And it's a part of just being patient, just being patient plus strategic. If you have a bit of patience and you have a strategy in terms of where it is you're going, then you will have that gratification without doubt. But you have to have that first word, which is patience. You have to be patient. And that's where the term, the word delayed comes into play. It just means patience towards being gratified. Okay. So if God is going to give you something, if he's going to, give it to you, it's not going to be anything that's on sale. It's not going to be anything cheap. There's no need to, you just got to go get it. You got to go get it. But you have to understand that in the midst of going to get it, there it is a process of getting it done. So we talked about before in some, again, previous episodes about what you had to do personally to build that process. And I think one of the things that I want to do with our podcast course, a series, I should say, is to create a course from A to Z, that will teach and train and show you and empower you everything you need to know chronologically in order to become whole. Everything you need to know in order to become whole, from my perspective, from a perspective of having studied great people, from a perspective of having studied people who have the mindset of a champion, which is the title of my book. I think if we put that course together, I think a lot of people will benefit from that. And we certainly want to talk about that in our Facebook group. But a part of building yourself, a part of understanding that process of growth, you have to realize some temptations that will come your way throughout that process. One of the things is to offer a quick solution to a long process. Look, some people are always trying to offer you a shortcut. There is no shortcut to success. There is no shortcut to success. As a matter of fact, what I like to say is, that if there is a shortcut, is something called sacrifice. And sacrifice is the shortest distance between your dreams and the realization of those dreams. So, if we're talking about a shortcut, it's not literally a shortcut, it is a sacrifice. So you have to sacrifice. If you want to condense that time frame, you sacrifice. Again, sacrifice is the shortest distance between your dreams and the realization of the dreams. And a part of that process, you're going to be tempted to try to take a quick route. It's not going to work. There's no stability there. There's no foundation in taking that, shortcut to success. There is no such thing. It is a true process, and you have to go through the process. So don't look for the easy way out. Don't look for that shortcut. Don't look for anything other than building that solid foundation. Again, when you think about the topic, delayed gratification, all delayed it doesn't mean that you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs and waiting to be gratified with your vision. That's not what it means. It means there is a process of work. There's a process of building. There's a process of growth that's taken place on your journey toward that gratification. You have to be able to understand that in order to understand what delayed gratification is all about. Some of you kind of sold out. You sold out to your God. You sold out, and in selling out, you got what you wanted. You sold out to your God and you got what you wanted. Now, guess what? Now you don't want what you got. Think about that. You sold out to your God just so you can get what you wanted, because that's a short-term gratification, right? You sold out to your God in a short term so you can get what you want, and you got it. Now you don't know, now you don't want what you got. Let me just save you that heartache and pain, guys. Don't try to take that shortcut. Don't try to sell out to your God. It's not going to work. Never, ever. Go through the pain of the growth. Go through the pain of the process. We've used this analogy before, but if you're working out, you're in the gym and you're doing reps or you're lifting weights, typically, and I'm not a big gym rat, so I'm going from someone else's experience, but typically when you're lifting weights, you get to that 9th and that 10th rep, but a lot of people may go over 2 or 3 reps, and that muscle is built with that 11th, 12th, and 13th rep because you're going a little bit beyond just the normal. Well, when you're talking about, taking those shortcuts with your business, with your life, with your marriage, with your career, whatever it may be, you can't take the short path. You got to be able to put in the work. You got to be able to put in the work. And the fact that you sold out your creator just to try to get a shortcut, I'm sure you can see now why that wasn't a good idea. You got what you wanted. Now you don't want what you actually have. So, you got to go through that growth process. You got to grow up. You got to build your capacity. You got to get to a point. And let me tell you when you've grown up. You've grown up when you can be nice to nasty people. When nasty, mean people don't get on your nerves. When you don't have road rage, somebody say something or do something to you, of ill will, and you can still be nice about it, that you've grown up. You also know that, you're not quite there if those things kind of tick you off a little bit. I kind of kid with some of my people I have a lot of people who are in the faith-based world, whether bishops or pastors or ministers. I'm on boards of different people. And I'm quick to let them know that, I aspire to do all the things that I need to do in terms of my salvation. I do aspire, and I'm working on that every single day of my life. However, I would let them know that I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite there yet. So what does that mean? That means I will still kind of, go off on you a little bit, or, you do something wrong to me. I'm not just going to stand there and smile. I got to grow. You know what I mean? I'm not perfect. I got to grow toward that. I'll still bust your head to the white meat. That's in my Bernie Mac voice. Bust your head to the white meat. No, I'm just kidding about that. But the point is, seriously, I I know I still have growth. And the fact that I can't smile when people in a lot of cases are being nasty or mean or whatever the case may be, that means I need to grow. But if you're at that point when you can smile and you can, laugh about certain things or certain things doesn't get under your skin, then you're closer to where God needs you to be. And I know I have a lot of work. I was kidding with one of my business partners, Jeff Landrum, and I'm not good in terms of like customer service type things. We have a online mega mall. It's called a Hot Shot Mall, and it's doing extremely well. It's a global mega mall. Things are going well with that. But occasionally, we'll get people who will contact support or customer care or customer service, and it's just I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with people sometimes. Like they'll send an email to just say, you know, where's my order? Excuse me? Like where's my order? Or my dress is too small, or all of these things. Now, Mr. Landrum, he's very polite. He can address, he's the COO of the company, and he can, he address every issue, and, he take everything in the proper manner. I mean, he smiles with it, and I mean, he handles it like a true champion. That tells me that he's closer to what that gratification is than I am. Because me, first of all, you're not going to get an answer talking to me like that. Where's my order? You're not gonna get an answer from me. I can tell you that. Matter of fact, even as I'm sharing this with you, I'm getting fired up right now. I can feel my blood starting to boil right now. Who are you? First of all, who are you? Secondly, hello, how is your day? How are things going with you? Now let's discuss this issue. Because if you send me something talking about where's my order, you're not going to get a response from me. I don't care what it is. I'm fired up now. Let me bring it back down. Matter of fact, let me get back on script. Because I'm getting myself fired up right now. But you know what, guys? In all seriousness, what that tells me, it tells me I still have a lot of work to do personally in terms of getting to where I need to be. Because if you can't be nice in the midst of adversity or nasty people or things of that nature, if you can't be nice, you got some growing to do. And I got growing to do. Okay. And when you can get to that point, then life becomes much easier because it makes that path toward that delayed gratification much easier to handle, much easier to deal with. There is no road rage and there is no crazy stuff. That stuff just doesn't get under your nerves because you understand what that process is all about. And then a part of that process and that journey too is to understand the people that you're surrounding yourself with, because those people can enhance your journey or they can hinder your journey. So you have to understand who those people are that you're around all the time. And look, the worst betrayal in the world to me is false intimacy. The worst betrayal in the world to me is false intimacy. Well, Sam, what do you mean by false intimacy? What does Bishop Jakes meant when he talks about false intimacy? False intimacy is snakes in the grass. It's people you think they're part of your journey in a positive way, but they're only there to cause havoc and wreak havoc in your life. They're snakes in the grass. They're in your space, but they mean nothing well. They only mean you harm. One of my mentors would share with me that the bigger you grow, the bigger your empire becomes, the bigger your sphere of influence is. Typically, the only way you can be brought down is from within. That means people that's a part of your intimacy, a part of your space, a part of your life. They tend to be the ones to bring you down. They're snakes in the grass. You have to be careful of that. You have to be careful of that. You have to understand that to be yoked with someone who really doesn't mean you well is not a good thing. What do I mean by that? And I know I'm stumbling over my words a bit, and here's why. I'm trying not to say what's really going on in my head. Because this message is going out to, 172 different countries live, and then God knows how many people are going to hear it in the replay. So I'm stumbling a bit over my words so that I don't say the wrong thing over the airways. But here's the thing you have to look at. Even in sometime in a marriage, if you're not equally yoked, and sometimes it's not the fact that you're doing something wrong or you're a bad person or she's a bad person or this was a bad person. It doesn't mean that. There are times where, you may have gotten married at a younger age, and because you haven't grown yet into the person that you're ultimately going to be, there's a process of growth that has to still take place. And during that process of growth, a lot of times you just tend to grow apart. It's nothing mean. It's nothing malicious. It's nothing that like she did something to you, you did something to her. It may not be any of that. It could simply be that you both have grown. And in your growth process, you're no longer equally yoked. You have grown in different capacities, and that's okay. It's okay to understand that. It's even okay to, even if you're no longer in the marriage, you can remain good friends. Just understand where things are. No one did anything wrong. You just weren't equally yoked because you grew out of that particular marriage. The perfect scenario would be to grow together at the same rate with the same type vision. But guess what? That's not reality. Reality doesn't live there. Sometimes people grow at different paces. Sometimes people grow in different directions. And as long as you don't try to, drag people into your reality that's unwilling to be in your reality, it's okay to grow in different areas. Now, if you want to maintain that marriage, if you want to maintain that sense of civility, then you want to find a common denominator in the middle of both of your growth spurts. So what does that mean? What do you still have in common? Okay, yeah, you've grown in this direction, she's grown in this direction, or he's grown in this direction. But what is the common denominator between where you all are? Could it be the kids? Could it be whatever? But find that common ground that will at least connect you in that particular sphere where you are equally yoked in that particular sphere. I hope that makes sense. But even in building and understanding that this gratification is a process, you don't want people taking advantage of you during the process, because sometimes that process, you're in a quiet space as far as the world is concerned. You're in a quiet space as far as the world is concerned. So I want you to think about it like this. While you're in that quiet space, while you're building, while you're growing toward that gratification, you want people to understand, just because you're quiet, that doesn't mean you're weak. Just because you're quiet, that doesn't mean you're weak. Okay? Just because you're smiling, that doesn't mean you're stupid or crazy. Just because you're smiling, that doesn't mean you're stupid or crazy. Just because you're nice, that doesn't mean you're crazy. That means you understand the process. Okay, so just remember, just because you're quiet, you don't want people to take the impression that you're weak. You're not weak because you're quiet. You're going through a process. Just because you're smiling, that doesn't mean you're stupid. No. Far from it. You're strategic, right? And just because you're nice, it doesn't mean you're crazy. That means you understand. You understand where you're going, and you're not allowing people to affect you in a negative way as you're on your way to this particular gratification. Man, that's deep. That's deep. Because you're sitting here, and people sometimes they'll look at you and they'll chastise you, and why is this and why is that? People always asking questions about someone else's life. I've never understood that. But anyway, need to digress. But you're in a space where you know what's going on. You understand what's going on. And that space is powerful as long as you don't turn that quiet time into a weakness and allow people to do it for you. As long as you continue to smile, even in the midst of, adversity and people thinking that you're stupid. And as long as you continue to be nice, even in the midst of adversity, as people may think you're crazy, you're doing the right thing. It's them. And time will tell. Once that gratification is bestowed upon you, time will tell. you know. Um, and again, when you're talking about the people that you're dealing with, I keep talking about other people as well, because most of the time when you're on a journey, it's not just you by yourself. There are people or situations or circumstances or businesses or your employers or whatever it may be that's a part of this journey. So you have to be aware of your environment in terms of people. It's difficult for you to say you love me. I'm talking about me when you warm yourself, in the fire of people who want to do me harm or people who want to do something to me. It's difficult. It's difficult for you to say that you love me or you respect me or you admire me or whatever the case may be, yet you warm yourself in the midst of people who want to do me harm. It doesn't work like that for me. It can't work like that for you. You have to understand your situation, understand your environment, understand, I'm not going to go deeper than that. You'll have to kind of, do some studies on your own. Because again, I don't want to say too much over these airs, but you understand you can't, you know, be mulling around with my enemies and say you're my friend. It doesn't work like that. Not in my space. And so you have to be aware of that as well. And I'm gonna tell you, let's just kind of putting it in a different type of thought. Sometimes you have a friend, or you have a girlfriend, or just a girlfriend you hang out with, or whatever, and y'all chummy, and then the next thing you're talking to the neighbors about your girlfriend, about your friend, right? Nah, you can't do that. That's what I mean. You can't. You got to be aware of those type things in the process of growing through where you are. All of these things, guys, I can go on and on and on all night. All of these things are just, again, incremental pieces to why it's important for you to understand your gratification may be delayed. Okay. For great wins, in order for you to have great, amazing wins, you got to have, in a lot of cases, great loss. It just is what it is. Balance is life. Life is balance. For every up there's a down, left there's a right, night there's a day, wrong there's a right. There's always a yin and a yang. And so for every great win, a lot of times there's a great loss. Just have to understand that. The best promises come often after the longest delays in building, the longest delays in just waiting. The biggest promises sometimes come from the longest delays. And if you understand that, and if you can respect that, you don't get frustrated with the process. I've had people who are faith-based people who they even get frustrated with the process and they understand, why is it taking so long? And that's human nature to have those questions. Or I'm doing all the right things. I know I've said this before. I'm doing all the right things. I'm doing what I'm told to do. I was told to do this and I would get this. I was told to do that and I would get that. And I'm doing those things. But why am I not getting the results? Why am I not seeing the gratification? It's just not time. I've said this on past podcasts, but I've come to the realization through my teachings and through learning from different faith-based leaders, mentors, and the like. And God even said it. There's only one right time. There's only one right time. And when you can understand that notion, then, it takes away a lot of the frustration from the wait. I'm talking about WAIT wait. So you understand there's only one right time. Your job is to build your capacity so that when that one right time comes, you're prepared. Ooh, that's deep. Let me say that again. Your job is to build your capacity so that when that one right time comes, you're prepared. I mean, the worst thing in the world is you that right time come and you're not ready for it and it passes you by. Guess what? It didn't say there's a second right time or third right time. There's only one right time. That particular thing is gone. Now you have to recreate yourself, reinvent yourself for that next one right time, for the next one right thing. So that means you don't have time to waste. You don't have time to play around with people. You don't have time for any of this foolishness. You got to go get it. You have to go do what you got to do. You have to make these things happen. I tell it to you all the time. If God told me to tell you He's still going to do it. Let me say it again. God told me to tell you. I'm just, he's still going to do it. If he made that promise, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. You just have to live and let live. You have to grow toward the gratification. But if that promise was bestowed upon you, that promise is there. You just have to build yourself to that particular point so that when that one right time comes, you're prepared for it. He also told me to tell you, he ain't forgot about you. God ain't forgot about you. God loves you. He ain't forgot about you. But you got to do what you got to do. Okay? So, hey, look, guys, like I said, I could talk about this all night. This is a passion of mine in terms of the empowerment of people. But I'm going to close with this, and this will sum up this entire episode. I want everybody to get this. You've been delayed, but you haven't been denied. You may have been delayed, but you have not been denied. So all that means is this: keep fighting, keep pushing, keep growing, keep building your capacity. You have to understand that, if that promise was made to you, that promise is a reality. But remember, there's only one right time. And when that right time comes, you have to be prepared for it. So I hope this episode gave you a little bit of insight in terms of why some of the things that you may want right now is not happening right now. But don't give up. Don't give up. God hadn't forgotten about you. Your journey is not over. It's never over until you're no longer on earth, right? So just keep pushing, keep fighting, keep grinding and understanding. Don't let anybody deter you from your victory. Don't let anybody stop you from being great. You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. You determine and create your future, and you got to understand that. So with that, guys, thank you for joining me on this podcast. Again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, download, share this podcast. It means a lot. Go to the website and listen to some of the other episodes, the Deep Dive Podcast.live. Email any recommendations that you may have, whether it's topics, whether it's guests, whether it's whatever it is, because this is not about me. It's about us. We're doing this as a team. We're doing this as a unit. I always like to tell my listeners from around the world, thank you as well. I know it's a U.S.-based company and podcast, but we do have people who are represented from all countries around, 172 countries to be exact, around the world. And I thank you for tuning in as well. Some of you have been loyal and faithful in your following of the podcast, so I thank you all so very much. Thank each and every one of you. I'm looking forward to next week's episode, so don't forget to tune in to the Deep Dive Podcast.live. With that being said, God bless each and every one of you, and I'll see you on the beaches of the world. God bless.